All right, guys. We're going to try to go through guided practice and independent practice on area and circumference of a circle. We're going to, all the problems are on the board. I would like you to work through them and, with me as I go through them. If you have any questions, you can email me, after class is over or when you get home tonight. So the first one we're going to talk about, we're on page 212, and we're going to look at the example. In the example, we have a practice track that you would have at a typical high school. You'd have like a football field and a track going around it. Our question is, the middle school is building an oval practice track with dimensions shown below. What's the distance around the track? And they want you to use 3.14 for pi. So I've drawn this on the board. The dimensions are that you have a semicircle on both sides, and you have a square in the middle that is 78 meters on both in length and width. This is square. So what we're looking at is basically we have the area of the square, and we have to add the area of these two semicircles. Well, two semicircles is the same as having one circle. So basically we can use the formula C equals pi d to find out the area of the circle, right? So find out the circumference of the circle. I'm sorry, I don't mean area. The circumference. Well, the circumference is pi 3.14 times 78, and that is the diameter of the semicircle, because this square has a side length of 78, so that's your diameter. Right? And when you multiply 3.14 times 78, you get 244.92 meters. Remember, circumference is a linear measurement, so there's no exponent. And then we also have the length of the two sides of the square, the top and the bottom. We have to add those in. So 2 times 78 is 156. So the total distance around the track is going to be 244.92 meters plus 156 meters, and that's going to be a total of 400.92 meters. Right? So again, we're taking a composed figure, a square and two semicircles, and finding the total area. Right? So the distance around the track, once again, is 400.92 meters. Our second problem number 22, it says to write and solve an equation to find the area of the shaded region of these circles. Use 3.14 for pi, and from there we just round our answer to the nearest tenth. So what we have to do is determine the area of the large circle, which is the area shaded in green, and includes the center circle, right? So the area of the large circle, and then we have to subtract from that the area of the small circle. Well, the area of the large circle, which I've labeled as AG, is pi r squared for the big circle minus pi r squared for the small circle. So the big circle, if we look, the small circle has a diameter of 4 centimeters. So if we have a diameter of 4 centimeters, the radius is diameter divided by 2. So the radius from the center point to this line up here is going to be 2 centimeters. Then we add this 1.5 centimeters to that, we get a radius of 3.5 centimeters. So our formula is pi r squared. If you square 3.5, you get 12.25 centimeters squared. Multiply that by 3.14, and you'll get 38.465 centimeters squared. That is the area of the entire large green circle. Now we have to find the area of the small circle and subtract that. Well, the radius of the small circle, as we said, was 2. You square 2, you get 4. Multiply that by 3.14, you get 12.56. You take the difference of those two, and you get 25.905 centimeters squared. The thing is, it's said to round to the nearest tenth. So we round to the nearest tenth. That becomes, we look at this digit here, and this digit here, this being a 0 is less than 5, so we keep the 9 where it's at, and we have 25.9 centimeters squared for our area of the shaded green portion, right? Number 23 says to find the area in terms of pi. And remember that what I told you, when we're talking about finding something in terms of pi, it's actually doing us a favor because it's less work for us. We don't have to actually multiply it by 3.14. In this case, though, they're giving us the circumference at 8 pi, right? So if the circumference is 8 pi inches, they want us to find the area of the circle, right? So let's take a look at what that would look like. Really, here's the problem. The circumference of a circle is 8 pi inches. Find the area of the circle in terms of pi, show your work. Remember what I told you, that anytime you know one thing about a circle, you know everything, right? So in this case, we know that the circumference is 8 pi inches. And the formula for circumference is C is equal to pi d. So we have 8 pi inches is equal to pi d. I want to solve for d, so I divide both sides by pi, and I get 8 pi divided by pi is equal to d, right? So it ends up being 8 inches is equal to the diameter, right? So then I divide the diameter by 2 to get my radius, and then I use the area formula. Area is equal to pi r squared, and doing that gives me area is equal to pi times 4 inches squared. I square 4, I get 16. Remember, I'm solving in terms of pi, so I keep the pi symbol. I get 16 is equal to pi inches squared for my area of that circle. All right, number 24. Number 24 is a very tricky problem if you're not careful, right? They're asking you to find the stained glass window, and they want you to find that distance around it, right? So the distance around a circle is called the circumference, right? But we don't really have a circle. We just have a half a circle. And where people make mistakes on this problem is they forget that this half circle has a bottom line that is part of the distance around. So in order to solve this problem, we use the distance is equal to 1/2 of pi d. That would be the circumference. Pi d would be the circumference, but we only have half, so we're going to multiply by 1/2, and then we're going to add this bottom line to it, 26.5. So I get d is equal to 1/2 times 26.5 plus 26.5, because if this is the diameter of this baseline, is also the diameter if I had a full circle. So I do 1/2 pi times 26.5 inches. I then add 26.5 inches. I end up with 68.105. Again, I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth. So I look at the digit next to that 0, I got a 5. So I bump that up to 68.11 inches, which is answer B. Ari chose answer D as the correct answer. How did he get that answer? Well, what Ari did was Ari forgot to divide this circumference up here. He didn't multiply it by 1/2 or divide it by 2. He did a complete circumference and then added the 26.5 to get 109.71 inches. All right, so take a look at that. Make sure that as you go through it, you understand how we got the answer. And again, if you have any questions, holler at me. The next thing we're going to do is guided practice. So what I've done, I put everything on the board, and now I got to slide this over out of the way so that we can actually see what I have on the board. We're going to move this over as best we can without knocking it over or breaking it or doing anything silly like that. So that we can get to where we can actually see the independent practice that I put on the board. That wire does not want to get out of the way. There we go, it's out of the way now. So now we have this, let me see if I can actually see the board. They're pretty good, we can go a little further. Now we should be able to see it. Yeah, now we're good. All right, so for the independent practice, we started out with a sign. It says do not enter. All right, on this do not enter sign, do not enter. And they want to know the cost of paying this sign. Well, the sign has, it says it costs $3.50 per square foot. How much to the nearest dollar will it cost to paint the sign if its diameter is 36 inches? Here's the critical thing. They're asking for the cost to paint, and it's $3.50 per square foot. The measurement they gave us is in inches. So we need to change that measurement to feet. Well, 36 inches is 3 feet because 12 inches to a foot. So that's the diameter. Area, which is what their square feet would be, they're asking for area. Area is pi r squared, so we need the radius. So to get the radius, we have the formula we're going to use is the cost is equal to the area times the price per square foot. The cost is pi r squared times 350. Pi is 3.14. The radius is not 3 feet, it's 1.5 feet. So when I square that radius, I get 2.25. And we had to multiply everything by 350 because that's the cost. So 3.14 times 2.25 is 7.065. If I multiply 7.065 by $3.50, I get 24.7275. They told us to do the cost to the nearest foot. 7 is more than 5, so I bump it up to $25. So the cost to paint this sign would be $25. Problem 2, let me get this up where you can see what problem 2 actually says. Problem 2 says that Mark wants to calculate the circumference of a circle with a radius of 7 centimeters and decide whether each of these calculations below will result in the circumference of a circle. Write the letter of the calculation in the appropriate box. The one thing I would suggest that you do is to take this and write the formulas that we need here. And we have C is equal to pi d, and C is equal to 2 pi r. So the radius is 7, which means my diameter would be 14. So I need, whatever I have here needs to either give me 2 times the radius times pi, or pi times the diameter, right? So in this case, I have 2 times 7 times pi. Well, the radius is 7, so that's 2 pi r. So find the circumference block, I will put A. The other block says does not find the circumference. So A will find the circumference. B is 2 times 14 times pi. Well, if 2 times 7 times pi will find the circumference, then 2 times 14 times pi cannot be the same, because those numbers won't be the same. So B would go in the does not find circumference block. All right? Then here we have 72 times pi. Well, 72 is not 2 times 7, and it's not 14. So anything times pi that's not 2 times 7 or 14 is not going to give you circumference. So C goes in the does not find circumference block. D says 14 times pi. Well, 14 is your diameter. So, and multiplied by pi gives you circumference. So D will be over here in the find circumference block. Right? Well, next two are a little bit more difficult because we have to solve for C if pi is equal to C divided by 14. In order to solve that, I would multiply by 14 on both sides. That would give me, that would cancel out there and give me C is equal to 14 pi, which is exactly what the formula for circumference is. C is the diameter times pi. So E would go in to find circumference block. In here, we get solve for C. I got 49 is C squared times pi. If I divide by pi, I'm not going to get the correct answer. 49 divided by pi is not equal to C squared. Then I have to take the square root of 49 divided by pi, and that would be less than 7. 49, the square root of 49 is 7. So this would be less than 7, which is not correct. It's not 2 pi r. It doesn't work. So in this case, F does not find the circumference. The next problem we have is talking about pizza. My favorite food in the world, I think. Oh my, now I lost my thing. Where's that? Well, you know what? We don't really need it because I wrote everything on the board. All right, we have a chart, and the chart says whole pizza, the price, and the number of slices. So we have a large pizza, a large is 18 inches in diameter. It costs $14.75 and it gives you 10 slices. A small is 16 inches in diameter, costs $12.75 and gives you 8 slices. The personal pizza is 10 inches in diameter, costs $5.75 and gives you 4 slices. And what you're supposed to do is, based on the price list, choose true or false, right? So the unit price of the personal pizza is 23 cents per square inch. Well, to do that, you have to find the area and then divide by the price. So the area is 3.14 times the radius. Here's the diameter, radius is half of that. So that would be 9 squared. And that actually equals 254.34. Not exactly going to give us the answer of 23 cents. It actually ends up being 17.75 cents. All right, so that one is false. If the 16-inch pizza is sold by the slice at $2 per slice, the restaurant will make a 25% profit. So we have to figure out how much they're making and then figure out how much it costs. Well, their normal selling price as for the whole pizza is $12.75. But if they cut into 8 slices and sell it by the slice, 8 times 2 is 16. So the difference between those two, 16 divided by 16 minus 12.75 is equal to 3.25. And then we have to divide the 3.25 by 12.75. That gives us 0.2549. 0.2549 times 100 is 25.49, which round is more than 25.49%. So they will make that profit of 25%. C says a tray with a circumference of 32 inches is big enough to hold a personal pan pizza. So we have to, that means we need to find this. If we know the diameter here is 10 inches and the circumference going all the way around, right? We can either do pi d or we can do 2 pi r, either one. 10 times 3.14 is 31.4. 31.4 is less than 32, so that would be true. And then the area of the large pizza is 2 square inches more than the area of the small pizza. We figured the area of the large one in A, and we came up with 254.34 inches squared. If we figure the area of the small one, take the radius of that is going to be 8. If you square that and then multiply by 3.14, you get 200.96. You subtract those two and you get 53.38 inches squared. That's a lot more than 2 square inches, so that would be false. Right? So our answers are false, true, true, false. And then the last question, they said after a bicycle tire has done 10 rotations, it has traveled 879.2 inches. Write and solve an equation to find the radius of the tire and use 3.14 for pi. So what we're going to do is let C represent the radius, right? And 10C is 879.2 inches, right? 10 times around, we've done it. We've done 879.2 inches. So then we divide by 10, right? And we get 87.92. Now for C, we're going to substitute the formula for circumference. 2 pi r is going to go in because we know the radius, right? So 87.92 is our circumference. We're going to substitute this formula so we can find the radius. And when we do that, we multiply 2 pi r is equal to 87.29. So 2 times pi is 6.28 times radius is equal to 87.92. Divide both sides by 6.28 and we'll get a radius of 14 inches. So the radius of the tire is 14 inches. Now I know I went through this quickly, and I'm going to leave in the notes for Ms. Morani to start and stop the video as needed. I want you to try to work these out as best you can. I just want to make sure we get done on time. Any questions that you have, please give me a holler. Give me a question. If you have a question, I will try to answer it before Monday when your quiz is going to be. All right, so just let me know. I'll be checking for iReady tomorrow and putting those grades in. So make sure you get your iReady done by tomorrow night, and then we'll go ahead and get all those grades in. I'll recheck on Saturday for those of you who didn't have it done by tomorrow morning. All right, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys on Monday.